Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I have some Raiders surprise cut candidates in 2024. The key word on today's show is surprise. Like, everybody and their brother knows that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get cut. So, spoiler alert, he's not going to be on today's show. These are 5 players that if you were to ask 10 Raider fans, hey, do you think that this guy's going to get cut? If over half of them say no, and they do end up getting cut, that is the definition of a surprise cut candidate. Let's go to the very first name here on our list, and it is Jakorian Bennett, cornerback of the Las Vegas Raiders, entering his second year. The Raiders traded up for him in last year's draft out of Maryland, and he struggled at times. Like, I know that Bennett is an incredible athlete. Like, anybody that watches the tape with Bennett sees that he's talented, but he also looks like he is thinking way too much instead of just going out there and reacting. And this guy got burnt a lot last season. The reason why he is on this list is because, yes, corner is still in need for this team, but Jack Jones stepped up. What happens if the Raiders decide to bring back Amik Robertson? Something to think about. Also, we know that Nate Hobbs is going to be a part of this mix. But the Raiders not only have a new head coach in Antonio Pierce, like, this is a part of the Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels regime. And we've seen it in years past, like Alex Leatherwood, right? Was drafted in round 1, new regime comes in, ends up getting cut the next season. If you're trying to build your team, anybody that was drafted by the previous regime, they're on the hot seat. And now that the Raiders also have a brand new cornerback coach, that adds to this conversation a little bit more. If you cut him, sure, you end up eating more dead money than what you save. But at the end of the day, if anybody thinks that $618,000 in the NFL terms is a lot of money, it's not. That's like me taking $10 out of my pocket right now being like, yeah, it sucks that I got to throw away this $10, but if it also gives me the opportunity to put another player on my roster that I think actually is going to help me succeed, then that's what you're going to end up doing. We got some more names coming up here, but does anybody out there, to everybody that's watching the show right now, is Raider Nation a family? Give me a yes, give me a no. Like, I say this probably at least once a week on this show. I am a Raider fan because of the nation. The first time I went out and tailgated in Oakland, it was contagious. It was electric. It was the only thing even close to my very first Zombie Nation whiteout at a Penn State football game. It was like, this is what I want to be a part of. And that's how I like to run this show. I want every single day that we go live to be an Oakland tailgate. And don't get me wrong, Vegas tailgates, I'm sure, are a good time. Vegas tailgates are here. Oakland, it's up there somewhere. Like, you can't get to how great the Oakland tailgates were. Bottom line is, I want you to join the family. Help us get to 166,000 subscribers. And how do you do that? By clicking that subscribe button. Let's go to the next surprise cut candidate here, and it's Chris Smith II out of Georgia. One of the hardest guys to find for our graphic systems here at Chat Sports. Did not really get a lot of playing time last year, and that's mainly because Trevon Merrick, Marcus Epps, those two guys, they went out there, they balled out. Also, Isaiah Palomeo got a little bit more run on top of that. And when the Raiders drafted Smith, I thought he was going to be more of a special teams type of guy. But again, you got to go back to the McDaniels regime, the Ziegler regime. And I'm very confident in this Raiders safety group based on the starters. There's not a lot of depth right there. So cutting Smith does make me a little bit nervous. But again, you got a brand new safety coach. If you cut him, you save $793,000. So right now, paired up with Chris Smith, Jakorian Bennett, two people that aren't part of your regime, when you add the money saved in those two guys, that's a vet minimum contract. If I'm a team like the Raiders and I look at, all right, two rookies that aren't part of my regime that didn't really play all that well last season, and I can potentially sign a vet if I cut both of those guys, like, that's something that I would at least think about and go forward, and it's something that I do believe that the Raiders could potentially do on top of that. So how about this? I want you to shout them out right now. I want you to name a player that is guaranteed to get cut this offseason, because I already know when I make this video, there's going to be people that ignored everything I said in the beginning, and there's going to be people that see something on social media and they go, I can't believe Mitch didn't put Jimmy Garoppolo in this video. So this is going to be the ad pin, okay? This is going to be the number one comment that I want you to go down and list. Somebody that is guaranteed to get cut this offseason. After this YouTube ad break, I'm going to give you 5 names. 5 names that are guaranteed to get cut this offseason. Jimmy Garoppolo, Bon Voyage, Jimmy G. Thanks for taking your PEDs. Brian Hoyer, he's also going to end up getting cut. Brittain Brown, hasta la vista, baby. Hunter Renfrow, post-June 1st. I should mention Garoppolo and Renfrow are both going to be post-June 1st cut candidates. And then Janarius Robinson. I am extremely disappointed in the decisions that Janarius decided to make. Somebody who got a 1-year deal, was about to change his life, and then got a DUI. More evidence came out that there was even more tied into it. He has not been cut yet. He will be cut this season by the Raiders, and if he doesn't, shame on the Las Vegas Raiders, because at this point, there's just no tolerance whatsoever for DUIs on the Las Vegas Raiders, let alone any NFL team, let alone adults, let alone anybody that has even an ounce of a brain. I'm sorry. There's too much technology out there. Just call somebody. We're going to get into some more surprise cut candidates here on the show, but I do got to show some love to today's sponsor. And if you don't already know, well, then I need you to listen up right now. GameTime is changing the game out there for everybody. Buying tickets to your favorite events, it shouldn't be stressful. So I don't want you to snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. Forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. I personally think it's the perfect app for buying tickets when you're planning a trip to Las Vegas. So Nation, download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code RaidersChat for $20 off your first purchase. Obviously, terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. One of the things that I love about GameTime, though, if you do plan on a trip to any city, one of the features that they have is they have like a city feature that you can go on. So like the other day I was looking at vacations like that my dad and I could potentially take this summer. And I was like, all right, like you can I was looking at Charlotte, North Carolina. We were looking at Denver, Colorado. Los Angeles is a spot that I really, really want to go out to. So if you're going to go out to a city and you know that maybe you're going to be out there in a week, 2 weeks, you can just put on the GameTime app, hey, I'm going to be out there 2 weeks from now, and you can see like what events are going on. And then when you get out there, you don't have to book anything right away. But then if you're sitting there, it's a Saturday night. If it's a Friday night, Thursday night, you don't have anything planned, you go on the GameTime app, they're going to get you the lowest prices guaranteed. Bang, then you go to an event. So download the GameTime app, $20 off with code RaidersChat. Let's go to the next name here, and it's Jacob Bobenmoyer. And some of you are like, I don't even know this guy played on the team. Jacob Bobenmoyer is the long snapper for the Las Vegas Raiders. And the reason why he's making this show is because some of y'all are probably like, why are we even talking about the long snapper? We're talking about the long snapper because I expect Bobenmoyer to get cut this season. In fact, it could be another player that I would almost guaranteed gets cut. He signed a 3-year deal last offseason with the Silver and Black, but if you remember, when the Raiders had Rich Bisaccia, okay? When they had Rich Bisaccia as an intern, Bisaccia, the first 3 extensions that he gave were Daniel Carlson, A.J. Cole, and Trent Sieg. Then the Raiders, after Daniel Carlson had the best year of his career, after A.J. Cole was a Pro Bowler, Josh McDaniels, because he just has to overcomplicate the simple things, says, well, we're going to cut the long snapper, and then we're going to go bring in our guy from the Patriots and Jacob Bobenmoyer. I'm not saying Bobenmoyer did a bad job. What I'm saying is you can cut him, $0 on the dead money. You can save 1.13, and I'm a big believer that Carlson and A.J. Cole are going to say, well, I want my guy Trent Sieg back, who is going to be a free agent. So because of that, Jacob Bobenmoyer is not going to be a member of this team this upcoming season. Let's go to the next name on the list. It's Jerry Tillery at defensive tackle, and defensive tackle is a need for the Raiders, and because of that, this is a surprise cut for some people out there. Like the Raiders, John Jenkins, going to be a free agent. Adam Butler, going to be a free agent. Bilal Nichols, going to be a free agent, and Tillery did a pretty solid job. Like based off of the defensive tackles that the Raiders have right now, Tillery might be your top guy. The reason why I am throwing this out there is because he did sign a 2-year deal. So he's got 1 year left. He's going to be a free agent in 2025. He did not have a good relationship with Tom Telesco when they were together with the Chargers. And because of that sour relationship, and because I do think that the Raiders are going to try to focus on getting a Byron Young up to speed, a Nesta Jade Silvera up to speed. They're going to try to get some of these younger DTs, and I do foresee the the Raiders spending some money in free agency, even potentially drafting a defensive tackle to replace some of these guys. Yeah, you're going to eat 1.9, but you're going to save $2.3 million on Jerry Tillery. The final name for my surprise cut candidate, his name is Darien Butler, linebacker from Arizona State. And I'll tell you this right now, the only reason that he makes this list is because I think as soon as people know that Butler has played with Antonio Pierce on the Raiders the past 2 seasons, and then he also was a member of Arizona State with Antonio Pierce and Marvin Lewis for a few seasons. Like, people see, oh, linebacker, Antonio Pierce, Arizona State, Raiders. There's no way he's going to cut him. I actually don't know how he makes this team. Like, when I think about what the Raiders potentially have right now, their linebacker coach in Caldwell, like, that's not what Butler is. Like, Butler is not an athletic linebacker. He's a good UDFA linebacker. Unfortunately, though, he's battled severe injuries, multiple different injuries, and he can't find himself on the field. So to me, I look at a lot of other positions that the Raiders have right now, and I sit back and I go, does Darien Butler deserve to be on this roster? No. And the only reason that I can come up with that he actually makes the roster is because he played at Arizona State with Antonio Pierce. Like, if that's the number one reason I come up with, that's not a good enough reason, especially when you can save almost $1 million by end up cutting him. So let's go through these names one more time. My Raiders surprise cut candidates for this season: Jakorian Bennett, Chris Smith, Jacob Bobenmoyer, Jerry Tillery, Darien Butler, and if you want to go through one more time, actually my guaranteed cut candidates on top of that, because I know that I'm going to get a few people that throw this one out there as well. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Brittain Brown, Hunter Renfrow, Janarius Robinson. Those are 10 players that I believe. How about this? Jakorian and Chris are the 2 biggest surprises. In my opinion, the other players, it wouldn't shock me at all if they ended up getting the hook. So let's play this game right here. We talked about Bennett. We talked about Smith. Bobenmoyer. I feel like Jerry Tillery is going to be a common name in this as well. And then Darien Butler. Out of these names right here, who would be the biggest surprise if they ended up getting cut? If it's Bennett, JB, Chris Smith, CS, JB for Bobenmoyer. I just realized Bennett and Bobenmoyer are the same one. Type JB too. Jerry Tillery, JT, and then Darien Butler, DB.